Hi, 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 hi. Everything is working. Hello, guys. I am so sorry. I'm like a minute late. Technical difficulties, right? First time doing an interview this way, so technical difficulties. But I'm here, and hopefully you are here for this interview on the Visible Woman on LinkedIn series. So I want to know who is here with me, right? Just make sure if you're here, just drop a message in the comments to let me know that you're here, because we are here and we're going to have an exciting evening today doing this interview with a wonderful woman called Lorlett, who I will introduce you to shortly. But I want to know who is on this live broadcast with us, who has tuned in to the very first episode of Visible Women on LinkedIn. So if you're here, drop a message in the comments. My regular lot, you will know how we do. I want to know where you are. Hey, hi. Here we go. They're coming through. Hi, Felicia. Hi, Lana. Good. I'm glad that you're here. So right, okay. Keep dropping a message in the comments and let me know that you're here. Let me know that you can see us. Let me know that everything is working well, because today we are making history. We are making history, and because this is the very first episode of Visible Women on LinkedIn. This is my series, which is all about showcasing women who have used the platform, who are using the platform of LinkedIn to be visible so they can grow their brands, promote their brand and build their business. Because that's what I'm all about. I'm all about you promoting your brand, building your business, attracting your ideal clients through this excellent platform called LinkedIn. So that's the inspiration behind this series. Hi guys, so many of you tuning in. Hi Sophia, Alika, Teresa, Nancy, LinkedIn user who I don't know. Hello. Hi Bailey. Hi. So good to see you all guys here, and thank you for joining us. Right, we're gonna have a good time tonight. We are really gonna have a good time. And I am looking forward to having this good time with you. So what I want you to know is that this is going to be an interactive session, which means that I want you to be dropping, if as I bring Lorlett on shortly, I want you to, if she says anything that you like, feel free to drop emojis like fire bombs, whatever it is that that you love in there. Just drop it, just relate. Let me know that you're feeling what we're talking about in this discussion. And of course, if you've got any questions, then let me know too. Drop those in the comments, because I'll be keeping an eye in the comments to see if there's any questions that you want me to put to Lorlett, as we go along. Because today we are going to talk about two things. We're going to talk about the power of support for business success, because that is something that's important. It's important to Lorlett. She's going to tell us why when I bring her on. But also on the LinkedIn side of things is the power of a consistent content strategy. Because if you really want to be visible on LinkedIn, you need to have a strategy, and you need to have a consistent strategy. So Lorlett is a great example of somebody who has created this consistent strategy, So I'm pleased and proud to say she is an ex-client of mine, and we've stayed in touch. She's a wonderful support. So she just had to be the first person that I did interview for this series. So I will bring her on in just a moment. Just hold tight, Lorlett. I'm coming for you. I'm ready. I'm going to be ready for you, So, okay, yeah, we've got some more people. Hi, JP. Chris is here. Amy, Vivian, Kate, Malachi is here. Excellent. We've got the whole gang in, right? So it looks like you're ready to have Lorlett, right? If this was like a real life audience in terms of we're together, I would ask you to give a big round of applause. But because we can't do that, feel free to round of applause in the comments, right, as I bring her on. So now, Lorlett Hudson. Now, when I put out this post about I'm going to interview Lorlett, the amount of fan mail, I will call it fan mail, the amount of people who put messages on my comments, who inboxed me, who said, oh my gosh, Lorlett is amazing. She's such a great person. She's so inspirational. She's so wonderful. She's all of this stuff. I'm like, steady on. I mean, come on. I know she's awesome, but wow, I didn't know she had like that bigger fan club, on LinkedIn. But that's because she is an awesome woman. And Lorlett and I first connected earlier this year when Lorlett actually became the very, very first client on my what's now called the Start Being Visible LinkedIn program, which is an 8-week program where I take women entrepreneurs through the whole process of growing your brand and your business through LinkedIn. Lorlett was the very first client I had on this program. Now, Lorlett at the time, it wasn't even meant to be I wasn't even sure if it was going to be a full-time thing, this program that I was on, right? And so I had Lorlett on because I'd been doing my business and I'd been working, and I was looking at maybe going full-time into work when my kids went into school. But Lorlett at the time, I shared with her that, I'm doing this and I do love it, but I'm still thinking about work. And one of the things that Lorlett said to me that really stuck with me, she's like, no, you don't need to do that. You can do this. You need to bet on yourself. She said, you need to bet on yourself. You've got, she told me that, she said, you've got something with this. You've got something that if you really plug into this and develop it, this is going to be big. So she was one of the very first people who said that to me about this business. And I'm so glad that I listened, because 9 months on, this is much bigger than I even thought. And we're only just getting started. So I am so excited that she encouraged me to bet on myself. So as I bring her on tonight, I want you to just really appreciate what a great woman this is. But in terms of what she does, she is an executive leadership coach and a transition coach. So she works with you to really tap into your leadership potential, and if you want to transition at different stages in life. Now, she has a company called One Hand Can't Clap, which has been going for well over 20 years. Can you imagine being in business for 20 years? So she, I'm very sure, has lots of wisdom to share with us. So I think now is a great time to bring on this Lorlett lady without further ado. So Lorlett, I'm just hoping everything's working, right, guys? This is, as I said, my first time doing it as an interview. So I'm hoping the tech side will all go well. So I'm hoping that I'm going to press this and Lorlett is going to appear on my screen. Hi, Dalminda from Sweden. Jeanette says hi to Sweden. Rosemary's here. Nancy's here. Okay, guys, let's see if this is going to work. Okay, right. Joint screen and... Hey, look at that. The tech is worked.
Oh, nice one.
Yes, testing. Lorlett, how are you? Say something so we can make sure that I can hear you properly. How are you doing, Lorlett?
I'm fabulous. I can't complain. Life is amazing, and I'm here. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to share. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for being my very first guest on Visible Women on LinkedIn. I'm so glad that you're here. So we're gonna spend the next roughly under an hour. We'll be done at 7, but I want to get to know more about you, and I want us listening to get to know more about you. And also we're going to talk about this theme that we spoke about, which is the power of support, and then also talk about your content strategy. But I want to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself to us in your own way, in your own words, and tell us exactly who you are, what you do, and did you think you were going to do what you're doing when you were 5 years old and you were dreaming of what you wanted to be when you grew up? So over to you, Lorlett.
Well, I was born in Jamaica, in a rural part of Jamaica community where, it was all about everyone understanding the power of support. That's why I started the business One Hand Can't Clap, because I grew up seeing people supporting each other and having that level of support. And, I left Jamaica when I was 13. I came to London when I was 13. And, I went through the school system and, I work in corporate. But one of the things all the time, it's hearing people having conversation that I'm not able to. And I knew from a very young age that leadership was very, very important, because it's about taking an action, seeing something and taking an action and making it happen. Leadership for me is not about hierarchy. It's about wanting to make a difference, wanting to serve people, and knowing that you have the skills and the talents to actually make that happen. And I also see a lot of Black graduates, graduating and not being able to, for whatever reason, really, tackle the system and being able to go after the jobs that they really want. And I continue hearing the conversations around, I've got a first class degree and I've done this and I've done this, but not being able to really, benefit from spending so much time studying. And so again, there was another situation where a lot of Black boys were underachieving in schools. So I see a huge picture there for me around people's development, especially for African Caribbean community. And so I took a really bold, radical approach in 2000 and actually say to myself, what can I do to make a difference to serve? So I contacted a few schools and I said to them, if you have any young people in your school that you're having challenges with, I'm quite happy to work with them. So my first contract was with a school in Tottenham with 20 Black boys. And that's where it all started off from. I had no idea 20 years later we'd still be having the same conversation around underperformance, underrepresentation, lack of diversity and lack of inclusion and belonging. So, 20 years later, the business is just as relevant as it was then. Can't hear you.
Do you know why you can't hear me? Because
I hear you now.
yeah, okay. Tom said something about putting myself. Thank you, Tom, for that tip. So there's no reverberation. But I forgot to unmute myself after I put myself on mute. But yeah, okay. So right, I love that. I love that, Lorlett. So you said 20 years later, not much has changed. Is that a disappointment to you?
I think for me, it's a very challenging one. I think yes, it's a disappointment, but it's also looking at with Black Lives Matter, it bring it into the forefront. It really got me to understand 100% what my business is about, because all the things that I know was happening and many people around me know is happening, it's that we talk about it, but now it's really gone global. Wherever you are, people are having the same conversation about underrepresentation. So I think there's a big awareness and there are a lot more people taking it on board, putting structures in place to make sure we live in a fairer society.
So how did you transition then? Because you're talking about mainly working with young people, university, etc. How did you move on to working with adults and doing executive leadership and transition coaching? And for those who don't know exactly what that involves, can you break that down a bit further? As in, what do you do as a leadership and transition coach?
Well, for a start, it's people who are running businesses and looking at their strategies, their vision, or where they're going, and what is it that they're actually dealing with. Leading a company, running a big business, it's very, very challenging. And who do you talk to? Because sometimes your partner don't understand, your family don't understand. So I go in and look at what are the challenges that these business leaders are actually dealing with on a day-to-day basis. It's my team. One of the things is team, is staff, it's revenues, it's income, it's all sorts of things that they're actually dealing with. These are the things that keeps executive they can't sleep at nights. They're thinking about how the business is going to work, especially in this time. Lots of people are working away from the offices. It's a big concern. How do I, influence my team to take actions? How do I influence people to do the things that they say they're going to do? And it's a major, major, huge concern for anybody who's running a business these days. So yes, it's important to understand that there is somebody there, and that really kicks into the power of support. One of the biggest things that people do in businesses believe that they have to do everything themselves. But in business, there are 4 components. I always say to people, so if you look at those 4 components around your product, your marketing, your sales, and your operations, no one person can actually do that. When you first started, yes, you do all of those things, but to be effective, you need to have somebody who understands your product, somebody who understands the marketing, somebody who understands the sales. And I know a lot of people believe that they have to do everything themselves, but you can't grow. It's impossible. And one of the biggest risks for any business is believing that you have to do everything yourself.
Totally. No, I understand that. You need people to grow. Absolutely. And we're gonna come on to the support thing in a minute. So that's good. We've got the overview of what you do and how you got to what you're doing today. So what got you onto LinkedIn? Let's talk about that side of things. What got you onto LinkedIn? When did you join? Why did you join? And what were you hoping to get out of this platform?
I think for me, it was a defining moment. I just got back from, my travels, because I go to Jamaica quite often because I'm developing a retreat out there. So I only just got back. And then I realized to myself around how am I positioning myself? How am I marketing myself? What conversation am I really using on LinkedIn? And not knowing that there was going to be such a huge impact in terms of COVID-19. I said to myself, yeah, I'm using LinkedIn, but what does that actually look like? What does it mean? And there was some fear and some concern for myself because it was, who am I? What am I going to put out there? What am I going to actually say in terms, how am I going to connect with people? So I had a lot of fears and concerns around, I wonder if, what I'm sharing people are going to be interested in. If my content is going to be relevant, people are going to be interested in what I'm doing. And sometimes when I want to share, I'd stop and I would think, oh my God, how's this going to look like? And then I just go into that whole paralyzed in terms of taking action. And I thought, oh, this is just too much. Being a coach, I mean, this is ridiculous. Why don't I find somebody that can help me? And even though I'm saying, the power of support when it comes to my own self as well, taking my own medicine is not always easy, So I looked and I saw that you were sharing on LinkedIn about what you do. And so I contacted you and said, hey, I just got back from Jamaica and I'm looking to really present myself on LinkedIn. We had a conversation. And then, the whole thing for me is just exploded after we complete our session. It was just amazing. Within a couple of days, I had 2-3 people contacted me wanting to work with me because what you got me to do was, start sharing what I do on LinkedIn and start, posting and everything else. And yeah, and it just gone from strength to strength. I've had radio interviews, I've had podcasts, every week at least 2 or 3 podcasts. And the interesting thing is, I'm doing an event next Friday, which is an annual event that I do. And it was interesting how easily it was to find speakers because I just looked at LinkedIn. Who are the people that I want to be, and their profile tells me who they are. So once I reach out to them and tell them what I wanted to do, it was quite easy to have people said yes in that sense. Whereas before I would probably have to write an email, I would have to make a phone call, or probably make a visit to an office or something and have some coffee with somebody. It was very easy for me to just do that. So yeah, the power of LinkedIn for me has definitely changed how I see myself, operating. One video I posted last week about an ex-MP in Canada, around body shaming. And I just thought it was really interesting because it's Black History Month. And I thought, here is a leader, powerful woman, took a stand for something. Because I'm very much around that, believe in what you believe in and take a stand and make sure it happens. Not even knowing what I was doing. Half the time I say to people, you don't have to know, just take the action. You never know what the result's going to be. And I think there must be about 9,000 people actually view it. And about 600 people, I think, liked it. So it has a huge impact, and it's even opening up Canada for me because now a lot of people who are living in Canada are reaching out to me. So that's one of the aspects of using LinkedIn. If that makes sense.
Oh, that is just fantastic. And I love that because I can sing about LinkedIn all day, and all those things that you talked about, absolutely real opportunities and real things that do happen when you're on this platform and you're connecting with people from all over. Now, someone might be hearing all of what you just said and they're thinking, well, maybe it's because Lorlett's got a large following already, and maybe that's why all this is happening for her. So can you share some insights as to actually how big your connections are on LinkedIn? How many people do you have in your network? And then also, I want you to tell us give us a bit of an insight as to your LinkedIn habit. Like, how often do you post and engage and all of that kind of thing?
I would say before doing your course, I probably have about 2,000 people. Now it's about 4,000. So it's kind of doubled. what I do, I post between 5 o'clock and 7. I find something which is relevant. It could be anything really, and just put my spin on it. And it's amazing. Whatever. Sometimes, the thing with LinkedIn for me is that I might feel excited about something and thought, wow, people are gonna like this. And then, only probably 2 people like it. And then there's something which I just picked off randomly and not to attach to it. And then I post it. And then, loads of people liked it. So really and truly, sometimes it's not about you. It's about the people who's actually on LinkedIn. They like what they like, and you just be the person who are there doing it, not knowing exactly what today's going to be like. So you never know what the response is going to be like. That's what I'm trying to say. It's just recognizing, share something, regardless what it is. You never know what the impact's going to be and who is actually going to like it or what that impact is having on that person that particular day. Because as I said, sometimes when I share, I think, wow, this is really great. And then no one really liked it as such. And then next day I share something. Could be, I'm walking in the park and I took some pictures about spaces or something. And it's amazing how many people will respond to that and said, yeah, nature and everything else. The quality of the response, I mean, like, when I was looking at what people were sharing today, I thought, yeah, these are people I see on a very regular basis, but they never tell me how they feel about me or what they think about me. But it was interesting to see that they actually shared that on LinkedIn. And it kind of reminded me like when somebody died, that's when everyone's actually saying, oh, this person was really great. And so, I think there is something fundamentally about how we don't tell people how we feel about them or what's going on, how they relate to you, and the impact you've had on them. I think LinkedIn gives people the opportunity to really tell the truth and the truth on themselves, and also tell the truth about you as well. So I believe that if you do anything that upset anyone, they won't hesitate to tell you, and if you are impacting them, they won't hesitate to tell you either. So that's what LinkedIn's there for me, I think.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. It's like it's LinkedIn has made the world smaller in a good way. I think in the best way possible. Now, I'm gonna talk about your strategy in a minute because you have quite a unique strategy in terms of your content on LinkedIn. But what I want to get, because I'm all about visibility, right? And let's just say, hey guys, loads of new people joining us. Welcome, welcome, Donovan, first timer, Sophia. Sophia saying that it's interesting how people engage with posts, and so this is also what Kate is saying, that it's the mood of people can be completely unpredictable on LinkedIn. So like what you're talking about, you can put out a post and you think this post is going to be great, and it's like it tanks, and then it could be the complete opposite. But what ties it in is and what I love about what you do, Lorlett, is the consistency. Like you have been consistent from the time we worked together till now. It's like you have been consistent on LinkedIn, and you've actually come up with your own content strategy. Because I remember, if anyone's seen Lorlett's post, Lorlett shares a lot of quotes, inspirational quotes and things like that. And you didn't even mention your cards, Lorlett. Lorlett has these cards, Mama used to say cards, which has got, you can probably explain it better than me, but inspirational quotes of Jamaican proverbs, that you can apply to day-to-day life. So that's kind of part of the mix in what you share and the content. And I remember originally I said to Lorlett, okay, that's good. You're sharing a lot of quotes, but maybe mix it up with different things, Lorlett's like, no, it's working for me, So this is after like probably like a month after we worked together, right? I'm like, Lorlett, I love that you're consistent, but you're sharing a lot of quotes. She's like, it's working for me. This has happened, that has happened, this has happened. I was like, you know what? Okay. So and I say that to say that when you find your rhythm and you find your groove, and we all have different ones, and what's really important is to be authentic to who you are, so in what you're sharing on LinkedIn, to really be authentic and say, this is me, and own that and share that with the audience. And that's what you've done so well, Lorlett. Would you agree that that's kind of, you're sharing from a place where it's actually you that you're sharing with the audience?
For me, the two things I have learned, when I first started the business, I had a mentor, and what he invited me to do and really advised me to do in any aspects of your business, there's two things that you need is building relationships, right? Build relationships and follow through, and your business will be successful. And that's what I've been doing. Everything I do is about building relationships, and people get to know who I am, what I'm about. I don't believe that you should be selling anybody anything at the level of, and that's just my approach. My approach is build relationship with you. And then, you buy into me based on who I am. But that's how business is. You do business with people in that sense. And so I shared things which connects me to people because people say, oh yes, my mom used to say those. And those proverbs, things mama used to say, I created them because the older generation are passing away. There is something phenomenal around their wisdom and the way how they think and the way how they were innovative and creative. And all that is captured in the wisdom of the cards, which is things mama used to say. And in 2004, I created a box of them to preserve them. And, when I look, so far I've sold 20,000 copies, which tells me that there is a need. And this is just the UK market. It's looking at the innovative way of using language and how you use language to create whatever you want to create. So when my mother would say, you can't sit in a bucket and draw water at the same time, what she actually means is that, whatever you want in life, you have to get up, you have to take an action and make sure that happens. And I think the younger generation coming up need to know the wisdom and the creativity of language that the older generation use and, preserve you and keep you as part of our history. And yes, for me, it's really understanding what's important, and when people respond to me in that sense, I think to me it's all about relationship building. So when you had the conversation with me and you said, you're not really telling people about your work, I said, I don't have to, because this is my approach in that sense. It doesn't work for everybody, it works for me. And relationship building is very powerful for me. And that's why I do what I do. The more people who connect with my posting my contents, then I linked with them on LinkedIn. So that really built up my following as well. And then I'll send them a message, great, really nice to connect with you. And then we just started off from there. And in the process, there's so many things have happened, like people interviewed me for their podcasts or, they interview me and doing all sorts. So, I've developed some fundamental relationship on and off LinkedIn. So people trust me, and have those conversations, and even having Zoom meetings as well with people like, so the transition from actually meeting people in person, I'm now more confident within myself to do Zoom calls as well. So it feels the same. Because I was saying to Mildred, how is that going to work? I don't understand that, explain to me. And she said, you will get it. It all feels the same. It's just that it's different.
Love that. Love that. So, Alexandra, I'm going to highlight your comment here. So, Alexandra, so somebody like Alexandra Rofa, she says, I'm afraid of posting, and I think in the beginning, you kind of mentioned a bit of that fear of, what putting myself out there, what am I going to say? And, what will people think? Like, how did you overcome that fear that you had of posting initially?
Just like how you set me a task and you say, this is what I would suggest you do. And I'm saying, yes, Mildred, okay, it's all right for you. And you just said to me, just do it. And you gave me something to do for 21 days, just post that for 21 days and just build your confidence up. And I realized how much, I judge myself, in the sense it wasn't about anything else. It was just about me judging me, um, imposter syndrome, what people are going to say. And I think that has a huge impact on many of us. Instead of us actually doing what we know we're supposed to do, we make such big judgments about ourselves and not take the necessary action. And for me, it's not just about LinkedIn. It's where else in my life did I stop myself and not really going after what I say I really want. So the LinkedIn strategy is one thing, but the powerful thing and the major breakthrough to me was just do what you want to do and not be restricted by it. Because the same story that I'm telling myself about, I can't share on LinkedIn what people are going to say. If I write something, is it the right grammar and all that? So it's about understanding what do we do? You know, what conversation do we have with ourselves to stop ourselves? Yeah.
And there's you talked about relationships a lot, and a lot of people are picking up on that in the comments, you know, so about relationship building being key, etc. So that's great. And I think that kind of ties in nicely to like the theme of today in terms of support, you know. So in terms of how do you then, so at first I want you to define what you mean by the power of support. What does that mean to you, and what does support look like practically?
Okay, that's a really great question. So the first thing is that when most of us, and even my clients who I'm coaching, it's they'll ask the question, how? You know, how can I do this? How can I do this? Right? The key thing around support is, who do I know? So instead of how can I do this? How can I make this happen? Ask who? Who do I know that can enable me to get here? You know, just like when I was thinking, okay, how do I really get myself visible on LinkedIn? You know, I could have spent the next, even to today, still having that same conversation about how, because in the how, it really cripples you in the sense of, oh my God, I can't see how. You can't create any future with how. It's about who. And the minute I said who, Mildred came to mind. I contacted Mildred. So for me, that's the power of support, is understanding. If you never take away anything from this call, it's not about how, it's who. Who do I need to speak to? Who do I need to have the conversation with? You know, and one hand car clap is a demonstration of that. The whole concept of the proverb, one hand car clap, it's about collective work and responsibility. No individual can actually survive by themselves. We all need support. It's impossible for you to use all your thoughts, all your knowledge. And a lot of people out there who's thinking, you know, coaching is not for me. I would say to people, you know, find somebody, regardless of who it is, because you could spend so much time trying to figure out something by yourself. And you just speak to somebody, just like Mildred was thinking of going back to work full time. And I said to her, come on, Mildred, bet on yourself, take a risk on your own self, you know, start doing what you love, because I know you do. And, you know, the service that she provided to me was just so phenomenal. She actually held my hands, you know, and point me to wherever, even though I've been in business for 20 years. It was important to have somebody like Mildred to support me around LinkedIn. I wouldn't have been able to do it by myself. So that's the key thing around support, is understanding other people's knowledge is not your knowledge, and what you have is quite limited. And one of the other things is about what you know don't grow you, because you know it. And if you know it, you're not going anywhere with it. So it's about understanding that. And it's also the power of not knowing as well, is a great way to be. What you don't know, you just don't know it, and you can't go anywhere without that. So it's that. So if you believe this is how it is, then there is no room for you to grow. It's about understanding that what you don't know is where the growth is.
I love that. I only wish that my Start Being Visible program was open right now, because you're like an excellent walking advert for this, right? But guys, it's not open until January, right? Mark that in your diary. January is when I'm open for my Start Being Visible program. But remember what Lorlett says when the time comes to that, okay? But I love everything you've just said, Lorlett. Now, Bailey, because obviously you're talking about support being about relationships, and you know, it's not how, it's who. So Bailey's asked a good question about what is the best way to network so that you can build this who-ness in your circle if you don't have it.
You know, I'm the number one networker, you know, and I would say that to people. You know, people are people. The first thing is see people, see them for who they are, you know, because what happens is we see people according to who we are. It's not who they are. So we look at them through our own eyes. And so if we're making the judgments based on, oh, what is this person? Can this person or this person? That's not what it is. It's really finding out, you know, their potential and have conversations with them in the sense of who are they, what they're up to. My first question always, I'll give you an example of me selling the cards. When I first published them and printed them, I walk around with them in my handbags. So I'd see somebody on the train that looks like me, and I would say to them, hey, you know, can I have a conversation? And some of them would, probably shift themselves a little bit. But the fact of the matter is, yes, some people, and I'd say, well, you brought up on Proverbs, and they said, no, I'm not a Christian. I say, not that kind of Proverbs. That's not what I'm talking about. Those funny things that our mother used to tell us, and yes, they start telling me. So then we develop a connection. And even the level of trust, sometimes people don't have any money. And I would say to them, you know what, call me, and I'll give you the details of how to pay me. So even that in itself was building trust with people that I meet on the truth. I'm at the post office as well. Sometimes I'm standing there in the queue with somebody and I'm having a conversation with them. Everything is in a conversation. And I'll give you a big example of, I was at the train station buying a ticket. There's a guy behind there. So I had a conversation with him and I said, hey, were you brought up on Proverbs? And he said, again, what kind of Proverbs? So I said, those funny things our mother used to tell us. So I start telling him, and then he said, go and tell me one. And I told him, and he said, you know what? My sister is getting married and she's having a hen party. And it sounds to me like that would be something great to buy for that. So he said, let's meet up. And I met up with him and I showed him a box of the cards and everything else. And he said, oh, yeah, she's having 25 of people, in her hen party. And he bought 25 boxes. So it just goes to show the power of how you interact with people. What is it you want people to know about you? What do you want to know about people in that sense? And, for me, it's having those conversations. That's how I enroll my clients as well. I could be anywhere. I don't know where my client's coming from. You can come from anywhere just by having a conversation. And that's what I missed around having this live events and going out and meeting people. Because it could be at the bus stop, I'm having a conversation with somebody and they will say, you know what, I'm trying to get promoted and it's not happening. And I thought, wow, so what do you think is stopping you? I don't know. I said, okay, jump on a call with me. Let's have a conversation around that. So again, that person become a client. So for me, it's really about understanding what's your strategy. How do you interact with people? What conversation do you have with people? And are you really interested in people? And are you really want to serve people? Because that's the key thing. When people believe that, because everybody is interested in themselves. People don't care about me. All they're interested in is what matters to them. What's in it for me? And you listen to them from that perspective of what's important for them. And once I get into the space of understanding what's important to them, then yeah, they're quite happy to work with me. So that's the power of relationship for me and the thing around networking. Does that cover it?
It definitely covers it. What I want to know is, what is your post office equivalent on LinkedIn? So how do how do you do that? So there's no physical post office to stand behind somebody. How do you go to someone and start having that kind of conversation that leads to that type of engagement on LinkedIn?
That's quite powerful actually, because one of my guest speakers, she used to live in the UK, but she now lives in Antigua. So I saw her speak at a conference, a summit, and I just like her approach. So I looked her up on LinkedIn and I sent her a message. Hey, I saw that you was a speaker, blah blah blah. Let's have a conversation. And she was really receptive to that. She contacted me. Then we had a Zoom call, and I said, "Oh, okay, right. Would you like to be my guest speaker?" She was the first Black woman for digital in Antigua. She was a CEO. So, and she done a lot of work here in the UK in corporate. So, she's very, very innovative and creative, and she runs her own program and everything else. And yes, that's it. Then there was a young man I saw. He's coming up to do his PhD. He's 26 and he started a project in Jamaica. And I just think he's so innovative. He's studying at Cornell University. I thought, wow, wouldn't that be great? So I contacted him and I said, just tell me a little bit more what you're up to. Really inspired by you. And now he's a client of mine. So, that's a demonstration of, yes, who you are, one aspect. You're the same in the next aspects, but it's just about developing confidence for two different situations. Make sense?
Yeah, totally. That totally makes sense. So Sonia said that covers it brilliantly. Bailey says thank you. So you dropped some bombs. Yeah, I had to make a note, right? I think one of it is, it's not about how, it's about who. I love that. Definitely we're running with that. And then what don't grow you, because you don't know it. It's simple, but you know, it's one of those things that you just don't think about. But I love the way you phrase it, and I love the way you talk about that. So okay, so in talking about the power of support, right? There's something. How do you distinguish support in business from almost what's called a charity? And I explain what I mean like this. I had a message from somebody on LinkedIn a little while ago, you know, and they were newish in business, right? But every interaction that they had with me, and I didn't know it at the time until I got this random message. It was like, okay, here's my video. Can you support it, you know, by watching it and sharing it with your network? I was like, who are you? I don't know you. Okay, you've asked me this, and I left it because I get a lot of inbox messages. But then I looked and I saw that pretty much every interaction that particular person had with me was just, here's my business. Can you support? And they kept using the word support. So I thought, okay, let me be nice and not just ignore this person, but actually educate them in the fact that this is not perhaps the best way to grow your business by randomly emailing people you don't know and asking them to support you. And then, but she really got offended and started this whole, long story short, like this whole rant about how we should all be supporting each other in business. And I kind of had the feeling that she was maybe using the word support in a wrong context, you know. So I thought, so in thinking about talking to you about this, I thought, let me run this by Lorlett. And you can tell me, what do you think about that? So when you say support, in terms of what kind of support we can expect from other people in our business, how would you define that? What does that look like exactly? Does that mean that we should expect people to share our posts, to maybe buy our services, even if they're not interested in it because they're supporting us, buy our books? I mean, what does that look like practically?
Okay, let me give you an example. So I came to you to support me how to be visible on LinkedIn, right? In the process, in your conversation with me, what you were saying to me is, oh, I'm doing this up until September and I am going to go back to full-time work. So it wasn't a one-way situation with our relationship. So yes, I came to you to coach me, but as a coach, I heard where there was something missing for you also, because I knew the service I got from you. I knew how talented you are. I know how creative you are. And I just know that you had a lot more, but you wasn't operating at the level of your potential. So my conversation was to you, why would you even consider going back to full-time employment when you're doing such a phenomenal job by the support you actually gave me? So then it became added value to me as it is added value to you. And after we finished our course, I didn't just disappeared. You know, I had conversations with you about whatever you posted, anything I see there's a gap, I'll send you an email and I would say to you, Mildred, you know, have you considered this? When you wrote your recent book, you know, I went on to Amazon and, you know, I wrote a review. So for me, that's what support is all about, is looking for the gaps where something is missing. You've got to give something in order to get something back in that sense. And it's not necessarily the person who you've done something for that will give you that support back. Sometimes it's somebody who you've never done anything for. But I think if you're a generous person that comes from a place of abundance, people will definitely support you. And I get that all the time where people will contact me and said, you know, I got this, but never want to pay for any issues. So, you know, there's lots of people are out there who are genuinely what I call freebies. Everything for them is about free. Don't give anything back, but expect something back, you know. And what I said about relationship, people are coming from a place of what's in it for me? Do you care about me? You know, what do you have to contribute? And, you know, Maya Angelou's quote, people don't care what you do. They don't care what you say. All they're interested in is how you make them feel, right? So you've got to really make people feel good about themselves. Find out what's missing for them. You know, be of service. You know, leadership is nothing more than being of service. Serve people. Just serve people every day. You know, if I'm feeling disempowered or I wake up in the morning and I'm thinking, I don't feel too good today, the first thing I said to myself, who can I have a conversation with? And then I call somebody up and I goes, so, what's going on for you through these challenging times? How's business for you? And people know that. And, sometimes what I do, I just drop a card in a post to somebody, and then they call me and they say to me, my goodness, that really touched your button because this is how I was feeling. Be of service, and that's my recipe that has kept me going for 20 years. Be of service to people. Because, when it comes to money in your budget, people remembered. I get phone calls from people. It's the end of March and the end of the budget, and people called me and said, we've got some money in our budget. Can you come and run a workshop for me? So there are different ways to me that I don't really have to go out there and, saying, look, this is it. And I get so much opportunities just by people remembering. It could be even, walking the street, you see somebody, you don't know him. Just nod. Hello, how you doing? Build relationships. You never know who is who.
I love that. I love that, and everyone's loving that too. Serving people is the biggest energizer. JP Jeanette is saying, awesome. Felicia, I love that. Be a service to people. Yeah, absolutely, it's resonating. In terms of that whole serving people. So how do you not get burnt out serving people? We're rounding up in a minute because I want to ask you a few quick fire rounds before we close up. But just the last question on this whole support thing. So how do you still preserve your energy and your time, and you got all these other things to do? How do you still be generous with your time and your your gifts, etc., when you've got all these other priorities that you're trying to juggle on a daily basis?
That's a very powerful question, and it's important for everybody on the call to understand this. Who you surround yourself with is really important. So if you have people in your environment that you hang around with, when things isn't going, they're the one who would, pick you up. So, I might have a hard day or feel quite challenged. I could actually pick a friend up and say, you know what, let's go out for a drink. Let's go and have something to eat. And they energizing me. The people you have in your circle is important to understand that. Who you surround yourself with. Proximity is important, who you connect with. Because at the end of the day, coaching is a very challenging but also exciting, because people are dealing with what they're dealing with. And when they come, you just have to be present and really being aware of what they're dealing with and have that infrastructure. Being a coach, you need to have support. You need to have a space where when things isn't working, you have people who can actually pick up. And my biggest coach is my aunt. She's 94. She's my biggest coach. I call her and, she'll tell me everything which has no relevance to anything apart from she's telling me who's our nearest baby, who's got married, who's got christened, so that kind of lifts my spirit, if that makes sense.
It does. It does make sense. And you said I know she's unofficially your coach, but just out of interest, do you have a coach?
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I have 2 or 3 coaches really, because at the end of the day, they're different things and everybody have different approach. And, again, the whole thing about being curious and relationship building. This year, I won a scholarship with one of the top coach in the industry, and he'll be coaching me up until in November. We started in August. Yeah, and it's just amazing how his approach is completely different to anything I've ever had. But yeah, he's white, he's Jewish, and he's just an amazing, simple man, but powerful. So sometimes when you see people, you think, oh my goodness, but when you really got into the nitty gritty of it, yeah, got me to see, oh, I really take ownership of what I do. So it doesn't matter how long you've been working or you're in business. Sometimes it's not easy to own who you are. And I want people on the call to really get this. It's ongoing. How you feel about yourself last year is not necessarily how you're going to feel about yourself this year, because you've grown to another level. And it could be asking for more money. It could be going for higher clients. It could be all sorts. So it's a continuous journey. And sometimes you just need somebody to say, double your fees, just double your fees. Even though you know it, it's good to have somebody that actually tells you that. That makes sense.
Absolutely. And funny you should give that one as an example because my business coach, that was one of the first things she said to me, double your fees. I was like, okay, so yeah, absolutely. I love that. Oh my God, we are coming near to the end of our time with you, Lorlett, but I've got some quick fire questions, just so we can get to know you even more on a personal level. I'd love you to answer with the first thought on your mind kind of thing, So I guess the first one is around LinkedIn. What do you love most about LinkedIn?
People coming out of the woodworks I haven't seen for ages. They're actually saying, yeah, they're commenting on that. And I'm thinking, well, I've heard from this person for a while. So yes, it's that visibility and then connecting with people who probably forgotten about you.
Okay, excellent. And what do you like the least?
Having to figure out what to post.
What was that? Say that again.
Really having to think on a regular basis what to post. I still go through that process. Is this workable or is not workable? And then just post it.
Mm-hmm. And see, looking from this side of the fence, I'd never know that you have that, because it's like every day Lorlett is constantly showing up on LinkedIn with posts. So that is
It's a process. It's a process.
yes, I love it. And I love that you're sticking with the process, which is great. Okay, so on that note, if you could only choose to post content or engage, which one would you do? If that was all you're allowed to do on LinkedIn, either post or engage, what would you pick?
What's the difference, Mildred?
So post means that you're just putting out content. So you put your post out and you log out, and you come back, maybe reply to your people. But engage means that you never put out any content, but you go to other people's stuff and you comment on other people's stuff all the time.
No, I think both of them works. So you put the content out. You
Pick
know,
one.
you put the content out. You respond to people. It's acknowledgement, isn't it? Everybody wants to be acknowledged. No point putting something out there and not acknowledge people. So acknowledgement is powerful. Yes.
Okay, that's a cheat because you're picking both. I only wanted you to pick one, but I'll let you off. I'll let you off on that one. Okay. So posting is a process, Laura's saying. Yep, yep. You get lots of love here, I can see why Lorlett is a cracking coach, says JP. Boom, she is rocket fuel. I love that. Yes, absolutely. Okay, Lorlett, just a couple more and then I'll let you go. So personality type, because people, again, this is something that people have preconceptions about. The women I talk to and I work with, sometimes it's like, oh, you have to be a particular personality type to be able to show up and be visible. So what is your personality type and how does that affect, if it does, how you show up on LinkedIn?
Again, for me, it's about connection. For me, everything is about connection. When I connect with somebody, I don't know for you, but sometimes when I'm walking the street, and somebody just acknowledge me, hi, how you doing? A nod or smile, to me, that's quite powerful. So that's what LinkedIn is all for me. It's that acknowledgement. I come from a very tight-knit community in Jamaica where I was brought up. So people see you. And I keep on saying this, we don't see people. And because we don't see them, we don't connect with them. And that's what's missing for a lot of people. I remember working in corporate and, you'd go in and say good morning to people and they just don't acknowledge you in that sense. So I think the powerful thing for me around LinkedIn is acknowledging whatever you do, acknowledge whatever people say, acknowledge it.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that. Okay, final question is, tell us one interesting thing about you that not many people know.
That interested, for me, I don't like to be alone. I like to be alone, but I don't like to be alone, if that makes sense. I like to know that I belong to a community where I can tap into. I think I would be really sad to know that there wasn't anyone I could actually tap into if things was going on for me. That's it. And it's one of my biggest fear, and so for me, it's that continuous building relationships because, you hear so often that things happen to them and they don't have any friends. And you think that's really sad.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, now that's good. Thank you. Thank you for that. So Before we let you go, guys, I'm sure you'll agree that Lorlett's been absolutely amazing. So, and I know loads of people have already said, I'm going to look her up, I'm going to find her. So tell us, what is the best way to connect with you? And do you have any kind of resources? How can they get hold of your cards and maybe even book you for coaching? Tell us, this is your slot to tell us how we can plug into you.
You can plug into me by, find me on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook as well, but I'm spend more time on LinkedIn. And my website is www.onehandcardclub.co.uk. But I think it's easier because we're talking about LinkedIn. Send me a DM and LinkedIn and I'll come back. I respond to all my calls, even the ones who are trying to sell me something. I'll go back to them and I said, this is of no service to me. Thank you for reaching out, and that's it.
You're too kind. I just blocked them.
I know what it's like to sell something. So sometimes, you got to remember they're trying the best they can. They're doing the best they can with what they have.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. But Lorlett, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's been absolutely a pleasure having you here for our very first one. I feel like you've shared so much nuggets. I'm gonna have to go away, digest some of it, and I want to do like a mini write-up or something. I'll probably share tomorrow some of the best nuggets that you gave us. Guys, everybody who's tuned in today, I want you to drop in the comments because I'm going to actually collate some of the bombs that Lorlett dropped and put it, in. Drop in the comments what you liked most because Lorlett, if you get time as well, you can go through and look through the comments and maybe, answer any questions that anybody might have as well. So, but this has been our very first visible women on LinkedIn. Lorlett, I'm going to let you go and then I'll just summarize, but I just want to say thank you so much for joining us this evening. It feels like the hour went so quick because there's so much.
Pleasure, Mildred. Thank you so much for having me. I had such a great time. I love to tell my story. I love to share my story. And if anyone gets anything from it, all the better for me because at least I made a difference. I'm here to serve, and that's what I'm about. So thank you.
I love it. Thank you, Lorlett. All right. So I'm going to say bye to Lorlett now. And guys, listen, thank you so much for tuning in. And we did it. We did the first one. And this is the first of 6 series. I'm calling it season 1 because I have a feeling there's going to be more than one season of this because there's so many incredible women on LinkedIn who are doing amazing things that I want to have a conversation for. So, but for the next 6 weeks, I've got, if you haven't already seen the flyer, plug into me, check my page, let's connect, follow my hashtag. Right, where's the thing? Follow my hashtag, start being visible. I didn't even write it on there, right? But follow the hashtag. I'm going to do it right now so you can see it, right? So if you go to LinkedIn and you type in start being visible as a hashtag, yep, you will be able to find all the content about this series and about connecting with me and about plugging into what everybody that I'm interviewing is doing. So I want you to, right, it's there. You should see it on the screen right now. Start being visible. There we go. Hashtag start being visible. So I want you to follow that hashtag because that's the hashtag that you're going to need to follow to be able to plug into this Visible Women on LinkedIn series. Next Thursday, we have got an amazing guest. She is awesome. Lorlett is awesome. The person I've got next, I'm not going to announce it until Monday. I want you to keep guessing. I want you to be excited, but she is amazing. I tell you, all 6 women that I've got lined up in this series are all brilliant, and you're going to love what they've got to say. So I want you to join me back here again, Thursday, 6 o'clock. That's GMT, British time, right? And we will do this. We will talk to these ladies, get invisible, and hopefully inspire you to get even more visible on LinkedIn. But I'm signing up for tonight, and I will see you over on LinkedIn later. Take care, and thank you so much for joining in. Thank you, guys.